Hello guys, my name is Mehnaz. Today I'm going to explain you the fourth lesson of CBSE English textbook First Flight from the Diary of the Annie Frank. This story is about a young girl named Annie Frank. She is a Jewish girl who goes into hiding during the Second World War from the Nazis. In this story, she expresses her feelings in her diary during the hiding. If you like my explanation, hit the like button and subscribe my channel for your new updates. Thank you. Now let's start the explanation of the lesson 4 from the diary of Annie Frank. Introduction. This lesson is an excerpt from Diary of a Young Girl or the Diary of Annie Frank. It is an autobiography that was first published in 1947. In this, Annie expresses her thoughts in a diary which was gifted to her on her 13th birthday. She names the diary Kitty, which she considers as her only true friend. She mentions about her childhood, about her family, and a lot other things that she told no one else. Annie Frank was born on 12th June 1929 and died in February or March 1945. She was a German-Dutch diarist of Jewish origin. One of the most discussed Jewish victims of the Holocaust, she gained fame posthumously with the publication of the Diary of a Young Girl, in which she documents her life in hiding from 1942 to 1944 during the German occupation of the Netherlands in World War II. It is one of the world's best known books and has been the basis for several plays and films. Her family had moved to Amsterdam after the Nazis gained power in Germany, but were trapped when the Nazi occupation extended into the Netherlands. Born a German national, she lost her citizenship in 1941. Born in Frankfurt, Germany, she lived most of her life in or near Amsterdam, Netherlands. Otto, the only survivor of the Franks, returned to Amsterdam after the war to find that her diary had been saved by his secretary, Miepkes, and his efforts led to its publication in 1947. Now let's start the detailed explanation of the lesson. Writing in a diary is a really strange experience for someone like me, not only because I have never written anything before, but also because it seems to me that later on, neither I nor anyone else will be interested in the musings of a 13-year-old schoolgirl. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. I feel like writing, and I have an even greater need to get all kinds of things off my chest. Here, the author feels that it is a strange and unusual for her to write in a diary about her feelings and experiences because it was the first time she was doing it. She feels this because she thinks that in the future, no one would be interested in reading about a young schoolgirl past. She thinks that later, even she will not be interested in reading it. But then she puts these thoughts away and decides that she would write if she feels like doing so. She feels the need to write because there were a lot of thoughts she had been holding on to lately and she needed to get them off her mind. It is known that writing one's thoughts act as therapy. She makes the decision of writing a diary. Paper has more patience than people. I thought of this saying on one of those days when I was feeling a little depressed and was sitting at home with my chin in my hands, bored and listless, wondering whether to stay in or go out. I finally stayed where I was, brooding. Yes, paper does have more patience, and since I am not planning to let anyone else read this stiff packed notebook, grandly referred to as a diary, unless I should ever find a real friend, it probably won't make a bit of difference. Now I am back to the point that prompted me to keep a diary in the first place. I don't have a friend. The new words used in this paragraph are listless, with no energy or interest, brooding, engaged in or showing deep thought about something that makes one sad, angry, or worried. Prompted, provoke. Going to the explanation of this paragraph, the author feels that paper has much more capacity to observe thoughts than people. People have low patience levels. But a piece of paper, being a non-living thing, would not refuse from observing her thoughts. This realization came to her one day when she was feeling more sad and confused than usual. She could not even decide whether to go out or to stay home at that time. When she finally decided to stay home, she sat being depressed and in deep thought. Again, she thought that paper had more patience, and she decided to write everything that came in her mind because she did not intend on making someone read it unless she found a real friend. By real friend, she meant a friend with whom she could share all her secrets. The author then comes back to the point where she thought of beginning to write. It is because she is lonely and has no friend to talk to. Let me put it more clearly, since no one will believe that a 13-year-old girl is completely alone in the world. And I am not. I have loving parents and a 16-year-old sister, and there are about 30 people I can call friends. I have a family, loving aunts, and a good home. No, on the surface, I seem to have everything except my one true friend. All I think about when I am with friends is having a good time. I can't bring myself to talk about anything but ordinary, everyday things. We don't seem to be able to get any closer, and that's the problem. Maybe it's my fault that we don't confide in each other. In any case, that's just how things are, and unfortunately, they are not liable to change. This is why I have started the diary. The new words used in this paragraph are confide, to tell personal things privately to a person that one trusts. Liable, here it is likely. Annie then goes on explaining why she feels the need for a friend. She feels that no one is going to believe that a young girl like her is so alone, which practically she is not because she has a loving family, near about 30 people that can be called friends, loving aunts, and a good place to stay. This depicts a clear picture of a family, but the one thing that lacks in her life is the presence of a true friend with whom she can share everything. She does have a good time with friends. They talk about stuff, but not real stuff that is actually going on in her lives. Despite trying hard, they are unable to get closer. She feels that maybe it is her who is not able to trust anyone with her private stuff, that she is not able to come any close to her friends. She feels that the current situation cannot be changed, and thus she needs to write her feelings in the diary. To enhance the image of this long awaited friend in my imagination, I don't want to jot down the facts in this diary the way most people would do. But I want the diary to be my friend, and I am going to call this friend Kitty. Since no one would understand a word of my stories to Kitty if I were to plunge right in, I would better provide a brief sketch of my life, much as I dislike doing so. The new words used in this paragraph are enhance, intensify, increase, or further improve the quality, value, or extent of. Plunge, jump, or dive quickly. Usually, when someone is writing in a diary, they list down all the facts about them in a formal manner, which the author does not want to do. This is because she wanted to give her need for a friend a shape and thus decides to name the diary as Kitty. Hoping that someone would read her diary one day, she thinks that writing without giving details about the background story would be ineffective. So, despite not wanting to do so, she gives brief details about her life. My father, the most adorable father I have ever seen, didn't marry my mother until he was 36 and she was 25. My sister Margot was born in Frankfurt in Germany 1926. I was born on 12th June 1929. I lived in Frankfurt until I was 4. My father emigrated to Holland in 1933. My mother, Edith Hollander Frank, went with him to Holland in September, while Margot and I were sent to Aachen to stay with my grandmother. Margot went to Holland in December, and I followed in February when I was plunked down on the table as a birthday present for Margot. The new words used in this paragraph are adorable, lovable, cute, immigrated, leave one's own country in order to settle permanently in another, plunked, to put down. She refers to her father as the most lovable father one could get. Her father was married to her mother when he was at the age of 36 and she was 25. She and her sister Margot were both born in Frankfurt. As soon as Annie turned 4, her father moved to Holland, followed by her mother in September, while both the sisters stayed with grandmother in Aachen. Margot was also sent to Holland in December, followed by Annie in February, who was brought as a birthday present for Margot. I started right away at the Montessori Nursery School. I stayed there until I was 6, at which time I started in the first form. In the sixth form, my teacher was Mrs. Cuperis, the headmistress. At the end of the year, we were both in tears as we said a heart-breaking farewell. In the summer of 1941, Grandma fell ill and had to have an operation. So my birthday passed with little celebration. The new word used in this paragraph is farewell, an act of parting or of making someone's departure. In Holland, Annie was sent to Montessori Nursery School. She started from first form. She had Mrs. Cuperis as the headmistress, as a teacher in sixth form who even cried at the time of farewell. In 1941, the author's birthday could not be celebrated well because her grandmother fell ill and underwent an operation. Grandma died in January 1942. No one knows how often I think of her and still love her. This birthday celebration in 1942 was intended to make up for the other, and Grandma's candle was lit along with the rest. The 4 of us are still doing well, and that brings me to the present date of 20th June 1942 and the solemn dedication of my diary. The new word used in this paragraph are intended, planned, solemn, characterized by deep sincerity, dedication, commitment. Dearest Kitty, our entire class is quacking in its boots. The reason, of course, is the forthcoming meeting in which the teachers decide who will move up to the next form and who will be kept back. Half the class is making bets. Gian and I laugh ourselves silly at the 2 boys behind us, Cian and Jacques, who have staked their entire holiday savings on their bet. From morning to night, it's you are going to pass. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. No, I am not. Even G's pleading glances and my angry outbursts can't calm them down. If you ask me, there are so many dummies that about a quarter of the class should be kept back. But teachers are the most unpredictable creatures on earth. So Annie has started writing her diary. She addressed Kitty and she was telling about her experiences. The new words used in this paragraph are quaking, shake or tremble, staked, bet, chanced, pleading to make an emotional appeal, glances, make a brief or hurried look, outburst, a sudden release of strong emotion. Dummies, an object designed to resemble and serve as a substitute for the real or unusual one. Unpredictable, not able to be predicted, changeable. On June 20th, 1942, Annie begins writing in her diary, addressing it as her friend Kitty. She mentions how her entire class is nervous about their results. It is unpredictable and will be decided by a meeting of teachers in which they will select students to be moved to next class or kept back. Many students were making bets. Some had put in their entire summer savings at stake. She and her friend G also made fun of nervous boys. They kept on saying to each other that I am not going to pass, while others would console them and say, yes, you would. G was polite as she tried to stop them from making noise while Annie scolded them. But none of it worked. According to Annie, about a quarter of class should not be allowed to pass because they hardly respond or take part in any of the activities. She refers to them as dummies, but this may not be the case because teachers' decision can't be predicted. I'm not so worried about my girlfriends and myself. We will make it. The only subject I'm not sure about is maths. Anyway, all we can do is wait. Until then, we keep telling each other not to lose heart. Then Annie says that she's not bothered about her friends because she's sure that they will pass. The only subject that she's unsure about is mathematics. She seems to be having a tough time with the subject, but all they could do was wait for the results and not lose their hope. The new word used in this paragraph is not to lose heart, not to be discouraged. I get along pretty well with all my teachers. There are 9 of them, 7 men and 2 women. Mr. Keesing, the old fogey who teaches maths, was annoyed with me for ages because I talked too much. After several warnings, he assigned me extra homework, an essay on the subject, a chatterbox. A chatterbox? What can you write about that? I would worry about that later, I decided. I jotted down the title in my notebook, tucked it in my bag, and tried to keep quiet. The new words used in this paragraph are old fogey, an old-fashioned person, annoyed, slightly angry or irritated, chatterbox, a person who likes to chatter, talkative, jotted, write something quickly. She tells how she has a great relationship with all her teachers except the maths professor. He was constantly irritated by the author's talkativeness. Despite several warnings, Annie did not stop talking in his classes, which prompted him to give her extra homework as punishment. The first one was to write an essay on chatterbox, which she thought was a weird topic to write on because what could one write about that? For the moment, she wrote the topic in her notebook, kept it in her bag, and focused on staying quiet. That evening, after I had finished the rest of my homework, the note about the essay caught my eye. I began thinking about the subject while chewing the tip of my fountain pen. Anyone could ramble on and leave big spaces between the words, but the trick was to come up with convincing arguments to prove the necessity of talking. I thought and thought, and suddenly I had an idea. I wrote 3 pages Mr. Keesing had assigned me and was satisfied. I argued that talking is a student's trait and that I would do my best to keep it under control, but that I would never be able to cure myself of the habit since my mother talked as much as I did, if not more, and that's there not much you can do about inherited traits. The new words used in this paragraph are ramble, to talk or write at length in a confused or inconsequential ways, convincing, capable of causing someone to believe that something is true or real, powerful, trait, quality, inherited, derived genetically from one's parents or ancestors. The author came across the note she had made as reminder for the essay after she had finished the rest of her homework. She began thinking about the topic while chewing the tip of my fountain pen is a gesture that signifies a person is in deep thinking. While anyone could mention random stuff written for the sake of filling pages, she wanted to present concrete arguments in support of talking. She mentioned that she will try to better herself as a student, but talking is something that cannot be eliminated completely. This is because she got it as an inherited trait from her mother, and this is how she ended up writing 3 pages of the topic. Mr. Keesing had a good laugh at my arguments, but when I proceeded, To talk my way through the next lesson, he assigned me a second essay. This time it was supposed to be an incorrigible chatterbox. I handed it in, and Mr. Keesing had nothing to complain about for 2 whole lessons. However, during the third lesson, he would finally had enough. Annie Frank, as punishment for talking in class, write an essay entitled Quack, 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 said Mistress Chatterbox. The new words used in this paragraph are proceeded to begin a course of action, incorrigible, not able to be changed, mistress, a woman in a position of authority or control. The professor found Annie's arguments to be amusing, but when she did not stop talking in the next lesson also, he gave her yet another assignment as punishment. The topic was an incorrigible chatterbox. Incorrigible refers to a bad habit that is difficult to change. He gave her this topic because he was annoyed of her unstoppable chattering during his lessons. On receiving this assignment, the professor did not say anything to her for a while, but when he lost his patience, he handed her yet another assignment as punishment on the topic Quack, 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 said Mistress Chatterbox. The class roared. I had to laugh too, though I would nearly exhausted my ingenuity on the topic of chatterboxes. It was time to come up with something else, something original. My friend Sane, who is good at poetry, offered to help me write the essay from beginning to end in verse, and I jumped for joy. Mr. Keesing was trying to play a joke on me with this ridiculous subject, but I would make sure the joke was on him. The difficult words used in this paragraph are roared, laughed, exhausted, completely used up, ingenuity, the quality of being clever, original, and inventive. Verse, writing arranged in with a metrical rhythm, typically having a rhyme. Ridiculous, deserving or inviting decision of mockery, absurd. When the professor scolded her for the third time and punished her, the whole class started laughing. As a result, she had to pretend to be amused too. After writing twice on similar topics, she ran out of thoughts. Thus, her friend Sane, who was good at poetry, offered to help her write in rhyme. This whole assignment scenario was to make Annie feel ashamed, but she made sure that she gave an effective reply. I finished my poem and it was beautiful. It was about a mother duck and a father swan with 3 baby ducklings who were bitten to death by the father because they quacked too much. Luckily, Mr. Keesing took the joke the right way. He read the poem to the class, adding his own comments, and to several other classes as well. Since then, I have been allowed to talk and haven't been assigned any extra homework. On the contrary, Mr. Keesing's always making jokes these days. Yours, Annie. Annie finally wrote her third assignment in the form of a poem, which turned out to be great. She wrote a satire that a father swan bit his 3 baby ducklings to death because of their noisy nature. To her good luck, the professor took it lightly. The professor recited the entire poem in front of the class while giving his own remarks simultaneously. The author, being fortunate enough, talked uninterruptedly after this incident without any further homework as punishment. Also, Mr. Keesing, the professor started cracking jokes every now and then in front of the class. So students, if you liked my explanation of lesson number 4, hit the like button and subscribe my channel so that you would get the new updates of my videos. Thank you very much.